And I will not be on camera, you will be on camera. And
Right.
these are very generic questions to service to our offices and to those press who did not have the opportunity to be included in the rotation today due to limited time constraints and things like
Right. Okay. How long is this going on?
this should just be 5 minutes.
Good luck.
Yeah, so it'll be really quick and they will be generic. Michael, these are just very generic. So they're EPK style. So I will be asking questions that you have been asked before, but that's because
as long as you can cope with hearing the answers you've heard 150 times, then I'm fine.
That's okay. Okay, great. So I guess, are we recording just so I can kick it off?
We are indeed, Joe.
Okay, great. Michael, why tell this story now, and what do you hope audiences take away from it?
Well, it's interesting. You know, I was born into the England that this movie is set in the 1950s. I was born in the early 60s, and the law didn't change until 1967. And I'm very obviously proud of the huge advances that have been made over the last 40 odd years. But I do feel for the first time in my lifetime, it's quite fragile, actually, if I'm really honest with you. And I think one of the things only, let's be very clear, there were many, many things that appealed to me about this movie. But one of the things was the whole socio-political debate at the center of it. And the fact that with the casting that we've got, particularly Emma and Harry, it probably, hopefully means a massive younger audience is going to engage with this film. And I believe that young audience is one of the most unprejudiced groups of people ever been born. And I hope that they will look at this film, they will see something I suspect many of them don't know, which is what happens when the law prevents you from being who you are. And they will hopefully become ambassadors for continuing to move forward and not allowing society to move backwards. So that's just one element of the film that appealed to me enormously.
Thank you, Michael. The second question is, tell me about shooting in Brighton and why it proved to be the perfect backdrop for this film.
Well, Bethan Roberts set the novel in Brighton, and we've continued obviously with that location. And one of the joys of Brighton is that it is very much a place that was that found its identity in the 1950s. Everything about it architecturally and just in terms of it being this seaside resort, the 50s is where it has stayed, actually. I'm not saying for a second it's locked in the 50s, but physically, aesthetically, it's an absolute joy to see that so little has to be changed when filming there. So for us, and certainly for the designer, Maria Jerkovic, I know that it was a real joy to be able to take our story on location to a place that needed very little change, actually.
Thank you. The third question is, you handled the storytelling beautifully, from the perspective of two different eras. Why was that an important part for this film?
Well, I think the film for me is about, as I've said, many things, but one of them is definitely about memory and time and how we play with memory and time in our own lives. And I think I'm the same age as Tom. Linus Roache and I were in fact at college together, and so that tells you everything. And I know for a fact, just on so many levels, because a few people have said, why did you not have the younger people add prosthetics and have them play the older people? Well, one of the reasons, and I fundamentally believe this, is we're different people. We're different human beings. We look different. I wish to God I looked like I did when I was 20, but I don't anymore. But also, I am intellectually, emotionally, I'm a different human being. I've gone on a long life journey. We are completely separate beings in many ways. There is obviously a very strong DNA that is at the center of it all. But for me, I think there's actually three time periods. There is the 1950s, there's the 1990s, which is 23 years ago. And of course, there is the time we're watching the film in this case, 2022. And you watch both of those time periods through the prism of now. And you're able to see what society was like right back in the 50s, how much it has changed and what it's done to those characters in the 1990s. And then you sort of come in your own time machine right up to the present, and you can see what society is like now in relation even to 23 years ago. So I think that dual time period in the film, with the addition of our own time period, is a crucial way into the whole memory and time of the film generally.
Thank you, Michael. And that is it. Those are the three questions. I am out of time. And
You know how everybody else feels now.
stay on schedule, and Gina is gonna let us know who's on deck. Thank you very much, Michael. That was perfect.
Thank you. Okay, go for it, Gina.